Topic 9, Ecology. My name is Joshua Mugabi. I welcome you to Topic 9, Ecology. Our learning outcome is D. Explain the concept of carbon footprint in relation to climate change, including its measurement, as well as the role of carbon sequestration in mitigating climate change. Our learning activity is A. In pair, learners search for and discuss the concept of carbon footprint and its measurement, activities that contribute to carbon output, and key sources of greenhouse gas emission. Use ICT tool to present findings. The concept of carbon footprint and its measurement. Item 1. Let's start with household energy use. A school project measures how much energy a household uses in a week, including electricity, fuel, and transport. Task. Define carbon footprint. Explain why measuring carbon footprint is important. Describe one method to estimate carbon footprint for household activities. Define carbon footprint. Carbon footprint is the total amount of greenhouse gases, mainly carbon dioxide, emitted directly or indirectly by an individual, organization, or activity. Explain why measuring carbon footprint is important. Measuring carbon footprint helps identify activities that contribute most to emissions and guide reduction strategies. Describe one method to estimate carbon footprint for household activities. Estimate emissions from electricity, kilowatt hours times emission factor, fuel consumption, liters times carbon dioxide per liter, and transport, kilometers traveled times vehicle emission factor. The concept of carbon footprint and its measurement. Item 2. Let's now look at school transport assessment. Students record the distance traveled by students using cars, motorcycles, bicycles, and walking. Task. Identify how transport contributes to carbon footprint. Suggest ways to reduce transport-related emissions. Identify how transport contributes to carbon footprint. Vehicles emit carbon dioxide when burning fossil fuels. Longer distances and frequent trips increase footprint. Suggest ways to reduce transport-related emissions. Use bicycles or walking, carpooling, public transport, or electric vehicles. Concept of carbon footprint and its measurement, item 3. Let's now look at personal diet analysis. Students track their weekly diet, noting consumption of meat, dairy, and plant-based foods. Task: explain how diet affects carbon footprint. Identify one high carbon and one low carbon food source. Explain how diet affects carbon footprint. Meat and dairy products emit more greenhouse gases, methane and carbon dioxide, than plant-based foods. Identify one high carbon and one low carbon food source. High carbon, we have beef. Low carbon, we have beans or vegetables. Let's now go to carbon output and key sources of greenhouse gas emissions. Item 4. Industrial area visit. Students observe factories emitting smoke and using fossil fuels. Task: identify at least 2 human activities that contribute to carbon output. Explain how factories contribute to greenhouse gas emissions. Identify at least 2 human activities that contribute to carbon output. Burning fossil fuel for energy and manufacturing processes. Explain how factories contribute to greenhouse gas emissions. Factories burn coal, oil, or gas, releasing carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. Carbon output and key sources of greenhouse gas emissions, item 5. Let's now look at urban living. Students list common urban activities such as using air conditioners, driving cars, and using plastics. Task: identify 3 activities that increase carbon output. State one greenhouse gas emitted from each activity. Identify three activities that increase carbon output. Driving vehicles, this produces carbon dioxide. Using electricity from fossil fuel plants produces carbon dioxide. Landfills of plastics produce methane. State one greenhouse gas emitted from each activity. Carbon dioxide from fuel combustion, methane from waste decomposition, and dinitrogen oxide from fertilizers. Carbon output and key sources of greenhouse gas emissions. Item 6. Let's look at agricultural practices. Students visit a farm using chemical fertilizers and livestock. Task: identify agricultural activities that contribute to greenhouse gas emissions. State the specific gases involved. Identify agricultural activities that contribute to greenhouse gas emissions. Fertilizer application, livestock rearing. State the specific gases involved. Fertilizers release dinitrogen oxide. Ruminant livestock release methane. Soil disturbance releases carbon dioxide. Carbon output and key sources of greenhouse gas emission. Item 7. Let's now look at household waste management. Students examine garbage piles and organic wastes in composite bins. Task: explain how waste contributes to carbon footprint. Suggest a way to reduce emission from waste. Explain how waste contributes to carbon footprint. Organic waste decomposing anaerobically in landfills produce methane. Suggest a way to reduce emission from waste. Compositing or recycling reduces methane emission. Carbon output and key sources of greenhouse gas emissions. Item 8. Energy use in schools. Students measure electricity consumption for lighting, computers, and heating. Task: state how electricity consumption contributes to carbon footprint. Suggest 2 strategies to reduce energy-related emissions. State how electricity consumption contributes to carbon footprint. Electricity from fossil fuel-based power plants produce carbon dioxide. Suggest 2 strategies to reduce energy-related emission. Use energy-saving bulbs. Switch off devices when not in use, and install solar panels. Carbon output and key sources of greenhouse gas emission, item 9. Let's now look at transportation choices. Students calculate emissions from daily travel to school. Task: compare carbon output from walking, cycling, and using a car. Recommend the lowest carbon transport option. Compare carbon output from walking, cycling, and using a car. Walking and cycling produce 0 kilograms of carbon dioxide. Car petrol produces from 0.2 to 0.3 kilograms of carbon dioxide per kilometer. Bus are lower than individual cars. Recommend the lowest carbon transport option. Walking or cycling is the lowest carbon option. Carbon output and key sources of greenhouse gas emission, item 10. Let's look at lifestyle and consumer choices. Students consider their weekly purchases: clothes, electronics, and packaged food. Task: explain how consumption patterns affect carbon footprint. Suggest 1 change to reduce personal carbon output. Explain how consumption patterns affect carbon footprint. Manufacturing, transportation, and disposal of goods produce carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases. Suggest 1 change to reduce personal carbon output. Buy fewer new items. Reuse, recycle, or buy locally produced goods. Key learning outcome. Carbon footprint, measurement of greenhouse gas emission from activities. Human activities contributing to carbon output. Transport, energy use, industry, agriculture, and waste. Greenhouse gases, carbon dioxide, methane, dinitrogen oxide, with varying global warming potential. Understanding carbon footprint helps reduce emissions and mitigate climate change. This has been topic 9, which is ecology. Thank you for participating in topic 9, ecology. Our learning outcome is D, explain the concept of carbon footprint in relation to climate change, including its measurement, as well as the role of carbon sequestration in mitigating climate change. We have been looking at learning activity A in pairs. Learners search for and discuss the concept of carbon footprint and its measurement. Activities that contribute to carbon output and key sources of greenhouse gas emissions. Use ICT tools to present findings. If this has been useful, please visit me at Mugabi Joshua Biology on YouTube.